Hello everyone, it's Morgan here. I was sitting here filming myself mess around with paint, and I thought, why not just do a live stream? So I am intentionally being very, very messy right now, just to kind of get out of a little block I'm having in my brain creatively. So what I like to do a lot of times is just go out in the garage and just paint away without any rules. The only real rules that I create for myself is kind of keeping the cool colors and the warm colors separate so I don't just end up with tons of muddy colors. So yeah, I apologize. I can't really see too much of the comments because of the way that I have the camera set up, but I just wanted to share with you all a little bit about why I'm painting on paper and not canvases. And I was like, this is something I could make a live stream about. So I paint on lots of paper, and, I was thinking about it this morning. I was like, I don't have a single canvas in my garage. And I said to myself, I'm like, well, yeah, I don't paint on canvases because I'm afraid to paint on canvases. One, I don't really know what I'm doing. And two, I'm so afraid that I'm going to fall in love with it, and then I end up with a whole bunch of canvases that nobody wants. And then I'm stuck with all these canvases in my garage, and I have no idea what to do with them. So I was just thinking, I was like, wow, well, isn't that interesting, though? Like, I have this fear, but it doesn't stop me from painting. So I'm still painting on these, like, cheap little pieces of paper that I got from not even the craft store. Like, I didn't even get this paper from the craft store. That's too intimidating for me. I got this paper from the office supply store up the road. And the reason why I did that was because, well, I'm less intimidated by that, but I still want to paint. So I was like, I think that's kind of a lesson in life, that just because you're afraid to do something, it doesn't mean that you have to not do it completely. Maybe you just find a different way of doing it. I was like, well, a lot of people have a fear of public speaking. It's like, well, maybe it's not always a fear of public speaking, but it's the kind of people that you think you might have to speak in front of. So maybe there's another way of doing that. So yeah, that's just something I've been thinking about this morning. Trying to read some of the comments, but the way the camera's set up is a little hard. So I can't see some people here. Hello to everyone. I am really just going for it right now. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. But I can show you guys some of the stuff that I have been working on. You'll have to excuse the mess in the garage, because there's like, this is like becoming an art space, but it's also a garage. So there's like house stuff, boxes laying around. It's not like a perfect art space, but I really like this one. I got it on camera when I was creating it, because I didn't like it at first. These were supposed to be flowers, and then it just didn't happen that way. But I don't know if they can really show up on the camera, but the textures and the way that the colors ended up laying out were really cool to me. So this is definitely one that I'm going to take a picture of before I write anything on it and before I send it out. So what I do is, like, I take pictures of everything. I don't do scans. I'm not that fancy. I just take pictures and then, send it out. So I'm going to show you guys some of what I was making earlier today. Oh, camera sliding around. So this is what I have so far. These are kind of the easiest pieces to make, because you can see over there's like a piece of paper, and I just poured water and paint on it. And then I took the little pieces of paper and then I put them on top. And yeah, it's just so cool how each one comes out. Like, it's so easy. And I'm just using regular acrylic paint. And I'm just kind of obsessed with seeing how each one comes out differently. I love it. And then it's so cool too, because yes, this is a really small piece of paper, but because, we have these phones that take these high definition photos, you can actually just take a picture of this. And then later on, like, if you use any type of Procreate, or if you use any kind of, Adobe Fresco, which is what I use, those are iPad apps, you can add more to it later on. So that's what's so cool about painting on little pieces of paper, is like, this could someday, I can put this in Photoshop or Procreate and turn this into something more. So yeah, it's kind of become one of my favorite things. It's just painting on all these little pieces of paper and just seeing how it all comes together. So yeah, I'm gonna move some of these warm colors out of the way and show you guys some of what I like to do with the cool colors. And yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. Yeah, it's I'm not using, I've actually bought quite a few watercolors. Watercolors, another thing I'm really intimidated by, and I haven't gotten back into it yet. So at some point I'm going to, but for right now, I'll show you what the watercolor process looks like, because I think it's kind of cool, because it's color and it's water, but it's not watercolor. So I will grab some more paper. Now I will say this cardstock paper, I don't know what kind of brand it is or whatever. It's just off-white cardstock paper. I love the way the blues, oh my gosh, I love the way, it's so specific, but I love the way blues appear on cardstock paper. Oh, I put the wrong color in there. What a fail. I don't think it's gonna mess me up. Wait, oh no, I didn't. Okay, sorry. Please ignore me, amateur hour. So I'll show you, take a brush, this is one of my favorites. And I just grab some blue and I have water on there, as you can see. And you can kind of just put it on the page. And then the water is blue now, but you can do this with regular clear water, and you just pour it on top, just a little bit. And this is just acrylic paint. Now, as you can see, it's running everywhere and it's going crazy because this is not watercolor, but I use other pages to like kind of create different effects. So that's how you kind of get these different watercolor textures without actually using watercolor. So that's not technically a painting, but what I do is I take pictures of these. You can see all those little lines in there and stuff. Like, it would take me hours to get that digitally. And I just did that by accident, just in this one setting. So there's a lot you can do with that. And now that this one's kind of drying, you can see some more cool colors, some cool stuff that happened in there, just by kind of, letting the water do its thing. And you really don't need that much. It is very messy because, you do have I have actual watercolor mixed media paper over there, and that's not what this is. But what I actually like is how these different effects that you can kind of get by using the paper that you're not supposed to use. It just kind of makes it go crazy, which is really fun. And then I'll take like a little piece of paper and I'll just like put it on top and create even more effects. So yeah, and there's just like a million different ways you can play with this. And I'll show you. So that's what I did. I don't know if this is gonna fit on camera, but that's what I did with this big piece of paper. Now this is like your kind of more traditional mixed media paper. So you can use this paper for watercolor or collages, whatever. Like, it's kind of like a multi-purpose art paper. So I'll show you a little bit of what it looks like when you do it on this. So like, this might be kind of like a weird, not cool artist analogy, but the way I kind of see it is like, how like if you get a taco from like a fast food place that's like not authentic, but then like you get a taco from like an authentic place. Like, for me, I'm never like, oh, the taco from the authentic place, obviously it tastes better. But like the cheap taco, it's not comparable. It's just something entirely different. So it's kind of a weird analogy. But I'm just like, yeah, it's not trying to be the real taco because it never can be the real taco. And that's kind of how I feel about regular paper. It's just like, yeah, it never can be art paper, but if it's the only thing available, you can still use it. So that might be a really weird analogy, but yeah, like I'll give another example, like mac and cheese. Like, I'm like, my mom makes the best mac and cheese, but if I eat mac and cheese from somewhere else, I'm like, it'll do, but I'm not going to compare it to her mac and cheese. It's never going to be that. So instead, I'm just like, yeah, I'll take this for what it is. And that's what I feel like regular paper can do. It's just like, okay, if it's all you have, you can do some cool stuff with it. But, once once I work up the courage to actually use the real paper, I can do some cool stuff. So you see how there's like pools of water in here? So that's where I'll kind of create like different things by doing that. So yeah, and I just don't worry. I don't care what it looks like. I'm just looking for stuff that looks cool. You just keep going, And yeah, after it dries, like it looks even cooler. And again, I take photos of all of this stuff. And if you know the app, there's an app called Visual Supply wait, is that what it's called? Visco, VSCO, Visual Supply Company. Yeah, that's what it's called. So a lot of times I'll even take the art and then I'll crop it. And then I'll like even go in and like change the colors like in like a photo editing app. So I'm all about breaking the rules when it comes to art. You know, it's like you have rules so many places in life. It's like if you drive a car, there's like a gazillion rules to keep yourself safe. If you work a job, there's rules on how the job is supposed to be done. Like there's rules on how to cook without catching the house on fire. But when it comes to painting, I just try to have as few rules as possible. And another thing that I've found is like, for whatever reason, when I'm just sitting out here in the garage, and I got out here early because I live in Arizona and it's going to get hot. I'm like, this is where my inner critic is super quiet. Like, I am not even worried about what my inner critic has to say, because I do have one. He has a British accent and he has lots of opinions on my work. Sorry if you have a British accent. I just don't know why. I literally hear like this British accent guy in my head who's just like, it's okay. Like, it's not the greatest about so many things that I make. And for whatever reason, he's just really quiet right now. So, yeah. Even when I make these live streams, like there's nerves around that. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's probably real artists watching this, just shaking their head thinking, what is she doing? She's destroying the art. But you know, I'm like, it's quieter. It's not completely gone, but the inner critic is quieter. So that's one thing I actually asked on my podcast. I was like, I want everyone listening to take that with you. Like, go throughout your day and find the places where your inner critic is the quietest. So let's say your inner critic is Gordon Ramsay. I will say, I don't think he's that intense. But yeah, I actually think my inner critic is very much so. I studied in England when I was 19 and I was in an English program there, and I felt very intimidated being like the only American, the only Black person in the class. And I had this professor and he just hated everything I wrote. So it's probably him. Running out of places to put art. So another reason why I love having this paper here is because, I love having this shelf over here where I can put the art, is because once I fill up that thing, I'm like, okay, I'm done. Time to go inside. Like right now, I think pretty sure my son is still sleeping. My husband's just chilling inside. And it's so easy to like kind of get lost in the creative process. And you're like, oh no, like I don't have as much time to make as I wanted and all that kind of thing. So that's the cool thing about painting like in physical spaces is like eventually you run out of space. Like you run out of paper or your paint dries up or something. And it's just like, okay, it's time to take a break. Oh, I love how this one came out. Oh my gosh. That's so cool. Like I was just talking away and I came with this. And yeah, wow. I don't know. It may not even look as cool on camera, but I love it. But yeah, I actually only have a few more pieces of paper here and then before I will have to open up a new pack. So let me see if I can answer some questions. Let's see. What cards are you using? I don't remember what the original package looks like, but I think they were, I can't remember if I went to Staples or Office Depot, but I went to like a office supply store and they sell blank index cards. Yeah, that was it. And they're really flimsy. I will say there are some better ones out there, but I hadn't done it in so long. These are just the ones I had, but they're working. they can't handle a ton of paint, but they can handle this. I mean, I've had some of these in the house that days later, I mean, they still look really good and the colors hold up. So yeah, they're okay. They're okay. Okay, I think that was the only question. Yep. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. And I appreciate it. Oh, someone said, how do you make this digital? So what I do is I take pictures of these, and you can actually see a little bit of, I made a video somewhere on I think it's a reel. I made a reel where I show how I take a picture of it and then I just put it on Adobe Fresco and then I just paint on top of it. So there are tons of technical ways to do that kind of thing. And I don't do that. I just kind of do my own thing. And I just literally take a picture of it and I try to get as few shadows as possible. And then I put it on, I just take a picture and I just bring the picture into Adobe Fresco, Procreate, whatever. And then I just kind of paint on top of it. Now you can get even more technical with it because there's a lot of people who will they create assets. They're called assets. And what they do is they create watercolor assets and stuff. And they'll take a page like this and then they'll put this into Photoshop and they'll actually go out and remove the background and make it transparent and create all these really cool swatches and stuff. So if you've ever used an app and you've seen little watercolor blobs and stuff like that, that's how a lot of people make it. And yeah, there's a few more steps with that process. Yeah, I am significantly less organized, but yeah, that's just a little bit of what I'm up to.
If you want another awesome video in our Black Excellence series, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.